Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Premiership Quarter. Today, I'm going to be doing my predictions for the All Australian team in 2024. In this video, it's going to be the starting 22, so the actual All Australian squad, and then one of my next videos will be the second squad, so the rest of the 44-man squad, and you can combine them to make my 44-man team. In this video, I'm going to be doing the actual All Australian team, and I'm going to be starting with my key back positions. And the two that I have are going to be Harris Andrews as the fullback, and a bit of a smoky one. I'm going to have Tom McCartin as the second one. Harris Andrews I've got in the team because he's going to be the best defender on what I think is going to be the best team in the league. And I think with the new structure that Brisbane have found, where it's Andrews is more of that roaming type, and then you've got Payne as that real lockdown, it works and it works great for them. And I think Andrews has developed his intercepting game and his leadership is exceptional. And I think he takes that position. And then the reason that I have Tom McCartin there is because I have Sydney doing really well. I have them, I think, pretty close to top four, bit of a rebound season after barely making the eight last season. And I just think his importance to that backline cannot be understated. I talked about it in a couple of my most recent videos where I just think no one's talking about how key he will be to Sydney's success. Everyone's talking about who's going to stand up with their forward line. Is it going to be McDonald? Is it going to be McLean? Is it going to be Amati? Could Isaac Heaney get back to his best form? And they're talking about the additions of Grundy and Adams. But I don't think anyone's really talking about how good McCartin has to be for them to be successful. And I think the reward for that will be to make his first All Australian team. In terms of my mid-sized defenders, I'm going to have James Sicily, which is a pretty obvious one. And I'm also going to have Nick Blakey as my other one. The reason I've got Sicily is because he is the best at his position, and I think by a fair bit. I also think Hawthorn might play some good footy at times, and obviously that's going to help him take this position. But he's just quite clearly the best player and as that third tall in terms of the intercept role. And then I've got Nick Blakey here. He made the 44-man team last year. I thought that was a bit early for him to make it, but just the lizard is the lizard. He moves like a lizard, and he is good like a lizard. What else can you expect? And then my two smaller defenders are going to be Isaac Quaynor and Jack Sinclair. Sinclair, I've just got him repeating a very similar season as to what he had last year. If he made it last year, I don't see him getting any worse this year. The system that he plays allows him to roam as not as that medium defender, but as that small, and he just has the freedom to do what he wants, and he is super dangerous. He's able to kick goals, and when he needs to be put in the midfield, he gets put there and he impacts the game. And I think he just keeps his spot in the team. The reason I've got Isaac Quaynor there, I've talked about it a little bit in my Collingwood prediction where he might not make that jump because it's a lot. But I think with Darcy Moore maybe not being elite like he was last season, and maybe if Jeremy Howe takes a bit of a step back with his injury or Nathan Murphy isn't able to play, I think Isaac Quaynor will need to step up, and I've got him doing that in this prediction. He is an elite small lockdown defender, and his rebound game is also really, really good. My two wingers for this team are going to be the same as last year. I don't have Errol Goulden becoming a midfielder in Sydney's team simply because I think that's what they added in the offseason and he doesn't need to do it. They're going to have Adams, they're going to have Mills, they're going to have Parker, they've got Jordan. I think Braden Campbell could take a few minutes as well. I think they've got lots of options in that role. And then the other one's Josh Dacos. I just see him, I think, possibly taking a step forward with his game. Maybe he gets a bit more impact forward of the ball, which he's still great at for a winger. And his running ability is just used to perfection in this Collingwood system. In terms of my forward line, my two key forwards are going to be Charlie Curnow, which, not a surprise, I've got him winning my Coleman if you checked out my awards prediction. And then I've also got Nick Larkey, who finished second in the Coleman medal that I've predicted. There's about a 5 goal gap in what I think might happen. And I just think with North playing a North ball style, which is what they've called it, I think it'll propel them to play a bit more faster and hopefully move the ball a bit quicker now with Fisher and Sheasel off of half back, and maybe even a Colby McKercher there. And I think he'll also have a bit more help in the forward line this season, and he won't have to take 3 defenders every week. Now, I do have a third tall here, and I think you could probably exchange him to put on the bench, but I've got Max King because I've got him taking that step to finish top 3 in the Coleman. Is it a bit of a Saints bias? Sure, but a lot of other people are predicting it, and I think for the Saints to take that next step, a lot of it will rely on his shoulders. He's a player that can dominate for 1 quarter, he can kick 3 or 4, and he doesn't need to do too much else outside of that. If he kicks 1, that's 4 or 5 for the game already. So it's not going to be difficult for him to hit the scoreboard. Obviously, he needs to just kick accurately, but I think he is of that caliber. Now, in terms of my mid forward, I'm doing Christian Petrarca. Call it what you will, it's the midfielder forward role. He does it to perfection, and even with his kicking woes, last season he was able to turn it around a little bit after that Saints game where he kicked 4 straight. But he is just superb, and he always polls well in the Brownlow too, which never hurts. My 2 small forwards are going to be Charlie Cameron, because I have him finishing top 10 in the Coleman, and Toby Green. He was the All-Australian captain last season, and there's not really going to be too much of a dip with him. He probably played to the best of his abilities last year, and he almost finished, top 5 in the Coleman medal, which is outstanding. It's purely just talent upon talent and hard work for him to get to this level. But I just think GWS might take a bit of a step back compared to how they performed in the back half of last season and may not reach the same heights. Now, in terms of my ruck position, I'm going to have Tim English keeping the spot from last year. I just think he'll slightly edge Marshall for that starting spot, and I don't think Max Gawn will be able to carry the load throughout the entire season. I think Melbourne will have to rest him, and I think that'll slightly affect his case. And then my 3 midfielders are going to be Marcus Bontempelli. No surprise. He's probably top 3 for the Brownlow Award. And alongside him, I've got Nick Dacos, probably right next to Bontempelli in terms of favourites. And then the last one is going to be Tom Green. I just think with how Tom Green gets possessions of the ball so easily, how he moves around the ground like he's 2 kilos, he just flies. It's really impressive, and I think he'll take the step to the point where his ball use and his impact on the game will take another leap, and he'll just be the best player for GWS, in my opinion, for 2024. I don't really need to talk about Dacos and Bontempelli because they are the 2 best players in the league. Are they the 2 most impactful players or the 2 most important structurally to their teams? Bontempelli, probably. Dacos, I don't think so. I think you could make an argument for Darcy Moore or even Brody Myercheck being more structurally important, but they are quite easily the best players. Now, moving on to the bench, I am going to do 1 from each position. I'm doing Luke Ryan from Fremantle. He is in my team because I think the way Fremantle continue to play, it'll just show how good he is as a player. They are a defensive team. That's where they build their structure from. And I think with Hayden Young potentially moving into that midfield, he'll take a bigger role as well. And he's a great interceptor, but without Hayden Young there, he might need to be a bit more of a rebounding midfield, mid-sized key defender as well. In terms of my backup midfielder, I've got Jordan Dawson. If he had that good of a season in his first full season in midfielder last year, can only really get better. He's going to have the tank now to be able to play a full 23 games as a midfielder. He's going to understand tap work from Riley O'Brien. And I think if the Crows do become a more successful team, maybe push towards the 8 even more, then he'll absolutely have a shout for this All-Australian spot. Now, I am going with a second ruckman, and I'm going to do Rowan Marshall, as I talked about with Max Gawn. I just don't think he'll have the games played and the impact throughout an entire game. So I've got Rowan Marshall. He was super close last year. Probably was the second best ruckman, only slightly behind English. And I just see him and English really battling it out as the two best ruckmen. I don't see Jackson and I don't see Darcy really challenging him. And I just think he has solidified himself as one of the top 3 ruckmen in the league. Now, my backup forward, I really struggled with this spot. I thought maybe Tom Papley. I thought maybe Oscar Allen if I wanted to go a bit taller, or maybe an Isaac Rankin if Adelaide make that step into the 8. But in the end, I've gone Shea Bolton. Even though Richmond might not be as good as they have been, like 2022, I just think his impact for them up forward is really, really high. And he's just that danger player, and it's so difficult to stop. He's great in the air for a small, and he's also great as a goal snake. If he tidies up his goal kicking a little bit, it'll be even better for him. So that's my team. I'm just going to do a quick recap. I've got Andrews, McCartan, Sicily as my real key defensive pillars. I've got Blakey and Sinclair as my rebounding halfbacks, and then Isaac Quaynor as my lockdown small. My 2 wingers are Errol Goulden and Josh Dacos, retaining their spot from last year. My forward line is going to be Larkey, Kerno, and King, of the max kind, as the keys. Christian Petrarca as that mid forward, and then Charlie Cameron and Toby Green as my 2 smalls. My ruckman is going to be Tim English, and my 3 midfielders are Bontempelli, Nick Dacos, and Tom Green. And then my bench is going to be Luke Ryan, Jordan Dawson, Rowan Marshall, and Shea Bolton. If you disagree or agree, leave your thoughts in the comments below. It would be much appreciated. If you enjoy this type of content, please subscribe to the channel. There'll be a lot more before the season starts. If you like this video, hit the like button. It will really help pushing my video on the YouTube algorithm. And thanks for watching.